Hey, Patty, so happy to have you here with us today. Tell us a little
Thank
bit
you.
who you are and what you do.
Hi, my name is Patty, and I am a knowledge manager currently at a company in the Silicon Valley area. And I'm in a niche area of knowledge management that focuses in the proposal world for new business development. And it may not, it's just a small piece, as I understand it, of the entire broader knowledge management function. So I'm kind of learning as I go along in this role that I've had for about a little more than a year now.
And walk us through how you got into your first knowledge management role.
Okay, well, I spent I've spent many years in a variety of disciplines. So I've worked in public relations, marketing, event management, account management, sales, technical project management, you name it, I did it. And then I progressed accidentally in 2008 into proposal management and proposal writing, which is at the time was not really a big area. So I spent about 14 years doing that. Um, in my most recent role, I was a proposal writer for commercial new business and government new business. And then I had a mutual acquaintance, an acquaintance that I had met online on LinkedIn at a virtual conference for our vendor, and we had a mutual vendor. And he had started at this new company, and he had a knowledge management role available. And I called him up to ask him what this was about because I had not heard of it. And it basically was to be managing the content that we use to respond to RFPs, requests for proposals, in a database and other activities around that. So I was intrigued because I'd already been doing it in my proposal writing world because currently, up until recently, that was a task that proposal writers and proposal managers had to do. They had to spend their crazy days responding to new business proposals, which is a very crazy deadline intense job in itself. And they had to also make sure that they kept their content current and up to date and correct. And so that's difficult to do when your company has new products and new features being added, but you're trying to respond to proposals and you're having to maintain this information in the database at the same time. So it's starting to become a little bit broken out as a function, so that someone can dedicate their time to making sure the knowledge around the company is curated and kept up to date and kept current and available for use in responding to new business. So that's basically how I got the role. It's been a little bit of a learning curve for the first year, but we're getting a good handle on it.
Now, I'm sure these learning curves aren't always easy. Do you have any ways, or maybe it's things that you have set as a foundation that enable you to have continued success within your knowledge management career now?
Yeah, I think that I've thought about this actually, and I realized that my varied background really has helped because I'm taking content from different parts of the organization. I'm taking it from the finance department, I'm taking it from the product department, I'm taking it from the engineering department. And um, I think my varied background helps me understand the people in those roles and how they think and how they work and where they come from, so I can kind of relate to them on the same level and have them, because they're busy with their day jobs, so they the fact that they to get them engaged to help keep this proposal content up to date is difficult because they don't have time, right?
Hmm.
So by having that background, I can understand where they're coming from, so it helps with the relationship building. I also I have a knack for, luckily, learning new things fast. I have like this personal process, I can't even explain it and how I do it, but I've had to learn maybe 30 different industries over my lifetime so far, and
Hmm.
I've done it well because I have this inherent ability to naturally do it. So I think to have a little knowledge, at least, not that everyone can be expected to have that skill, but I think to go proactively go out and actually really learn what your company does and sells and reach out to people and just get that background knowledge helps you moderate the content that you're handling, because at first, when I first got here, I didn't understand a thing that we did. So it was very hard for me to moderate new content coming into the database because I just didn't know if it should be in there or if it was just junk coming in, and you don't want to, have your company's database, full of junk. So I really took several months of time to get out and really get a handle, read everything, just absorb everything. And now I'm feeling like I'm in a better place. So I think those are kind of the two things I've done that helped get better at it.
And it sounds like, in order to do that, you have to communicate pretty well with different stakeholders and setting expectations that you need to go through this learning process. And when we think about the skills that you need to do something like that and the skills you need just overall to be successful in your job, what are some of the ones that come to mind?
Just general skills, I think, and I had a little list over here. Um, just being organized and detail oriented. I am pretty organized in terms of work, and being very detail oriented, caring that things need to be accurate and up to date, and it's not okay to have it be grammatically incorrect. You really need everything to be, accurate, current, and up to date, and also grammatically correct so that you're able to, and actually clear enough so that you can communicate to all different decision makers, depending what department they're in. You could be sending a proposal out to an engineering department or a CEO. Just organized, detail oriented, good writing skills. Just be having the ability to deal with different, like you said, different stakeholders and where they're coming from. And just proactiveness, like I said, be a self-learner, I think really helps.
And when you think of some of the things that help you enable your skills, some things that come to my mind are tools. Are there any tools that you feel like are very helpful for your workflow and enabling you to essentially achieve great results within the knowledge management work that you're doing?
Yeah. Well, for organization, I personally use Trello at Ladison, CN, however you say their name. We use Asana, but I actually really like Trello for that. Just as something I personally enjoy. So it helps me lay out not only the tasks I have to do every day, but I can break it out by category and just keep track of it that way. That's just a tool I use. A lot of different proposal writers use grammar tools like Grammarly and things like that to help them get the content more, get it grammatically correct. They use those kind of tools to do it automatically. I don't, because I have a technical editing graduate certificate, so I just kind of can eyeball it really fast. But I do sometimes, if Word corrects something, I'll take a look at it and see, what they suggested. And so I'm guessing those are really, because we have a database tool for specialized for proposal management, so I use that every day too. But that wouldn't be for all the disciplines of knowledge management.
Okay, very cool.
I think every company that does knowledge management regardless of whether it's proposal team or it's a marketing team with a content, a major content database, I think they're all going to have a tool to house that in and distribute it and things. I've seen we had a CDM at my last company and they had a tool too. So
yeah, I think having tools and making sure people use the tools, the two separate.
Exactly. Well, there's a lot of emailing to try to convince people to do it. Yeah.
And one of my favorite questions and is getting an understanding of what people think about the future of knowledge management, because it's a big topic. And what are some of the first things that come to mind though when you think of the future of knowledge management and where it's going?
I think, the person that hired me actually has a greater thought on this, but I joined the Knowledge Management Institute. I've not gotten too deep into them yet because that crosses discipline, just to become a member and kind of get exposure to where it's going across, the disciplines. And I think it is something I've seen a lot more on it out there. And I think it is important because now we have we have more content out there. We have more ways of distributing content. We have more forms of content. We have across the company. We have more people using content. It's digitized. I think we just need to have something to wrangle it all together and keep it going. You can't just have it scattered all over the place, or bad information gets out to people. So you just need to, I think it's just going to have to grow and grow. Kind of like proposal management. It's when 2008, it wasn't a very big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And now that has become a huge industry. And I think knowledge management's the same way.
And I think when there's more data that comes out over time, more studies are done that support things, then people are like, okay, proposal management is something we need to focus on. The data clearly says that if we do this effectively, we can deliver more projects, get more sales, all those things.
Yeah. And I've seen it, like I said, I've seen it from not just the proposal management side. And we have people working on an internal content database that's for everything. And my last company had one where it was pulling together all of the marketing product one sheets and the videos and the blogs and all that content together into one database for everyone to access. I mean, that's an even grander scale than just proposals. Proposals is just one part of that.
Yeah, very true. And there's lots of moving pieces there. I think, some of the things I see is companies always trying to better define their customer persona. They're like, we have all this material, in our database. How do we organize it? But first, we need better define our customer persona. Okay, so what does that mean? We can't do, always trying to avoid putting like the cart before the horse, and making sure that if you're going to collect information and put it together, that it's going to the right people.
Exactly. And I'm just at the I'm just at the beginning, a year into really seeing what it can do. I'm also still in a learning process. So I do think that it's going to grow and grow.
And I know you briefly touched upon this earlier, but for many people watching this video here, it's going to be their first step jumping into knowledge management. And they're curious about some of the hurdles and challenges that they'll likely face and how to overcome those hurdles and challenges.
Right. Well, I mean, it depends, I guess, where you are in your career. If you are someone who has had prior work experience, I think it might be a tiny bit easier because you have some context to go back on. You have when you are you have a background in how an organization runs, and have different departments, and just a little knowledge about what an IT department does, and if and all that stuff. So I think for that, it's more of understanding the company that you're working for and what they, like I said before, what they sell, what their philosophies are, who's using content, how are they getting the content, that kind of thing. Those are some of the hurdles you just have to learn as you join an organization, and just get up to speed, spend time, get up to speed. Don't wait for them to come to you, go to them and extract information out of them to build your own knowledge in your head. For somebody just starting out, it's probably a little bit more difficult in terms of, I mean, you probably wouldn't be going into some sort of major leadership role right from school, but I think that I think it's still doable. And you just still have to try to reach out. I remember from my very first job, I went out to the people in the company and asked them what they did and had them explain to me what they did. And that helped me better understand my organization as a whole. Don't just sit in a silo, kind of get learn the organization as a whole. So that will help you understand the content that you're having to manage, or the knowledge you're having to manage, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I wish someone had taught me that. It should be part of like every employee's onboarding package, is like, hey, make sure to reach out to the different stakeholders and the different team members and the leads and get understanding of what they do.
Yeah, and you actually have to force them to spoon feed it to you, because I have, early on in my life, I had companies that actually had this formal onboarding. And now as things just get faster and faster, they don't really have that anymore. And it's just like they throw you in there and they're like, just figure it out, right? So you have to come up with your own strategy for figuring it out, which is what I did. Be proactive, go out, ask the people, have them explain it to you in the way that you think, because if it's an engineer, they might be talking to you in engineering language, but you don't understand engineering. So you have to kind of come to a middle ground of how they can, how they can share it with you so you understand it. So that's just something to be mindful of.
It makes a lot of sense. Now, for many of the people watching this video, is they're also in the process of deciding whether to jump into this career and what's
Hmm.
right for them. What were some of the signs that you knew that this was going to be a good career path for you, and maybe some of the signs that you think other people can look at to feel like they have more confident in that decision of jumping into this career?
Yeah. For me, I was ready for a change. I had done a lot of things and I was just ready for something new. I just needed to learn something new, be new. I had been writing proposals 19 hours a day, 7 days a week
Wow.
for 5 years, and I was just burnt out from the deadlines, the constant deadlines. Not that there aren't deadlines now, but it's more of a standard deadline kind of plan. Um, the proposal world was filled with uncertainties. Like you didn't know when a proposal would come in, you don't know when it would be due. So that went on for 5 years, and I was just ready for a change of something more stable. But I wanted to be able to use the things that I had learned already. I had great writing skills. I had great organization skills, and I was just looking for something different. And the opportunity just was thrown in front of me, like I said, happily. And so that's why I moved into it. I think that it is a good way for somebody. I think people should consider it because it is a good way to learn an organization as a whole, as opposed to just like, let's say you join a company and you're in the finance department, all you're seeing is finance,
Hmm.
you're not seeing the organization as a whole. So I think it is very helpful discipline for you to see the company as a whole and understand all pieces of it. I think it just helps.
Yeah, understanding, why you're doing what you're doing and how that's driving overall business objectives.
Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise it's hard to feel motivated sometimes. You're like, how is this helping? Like you have a little bit of an idea,
Yep.
but having a more complete idea really helps things.
Yeah, and I think it helps you just progress your career too, because if you understand how an organization works as a whole, you can take that in an industry, you can take that on to your next role. So I think that's the benefit.
And, what are some of the things that you would say you're pretty proud of that so far your understanding of knowledge management and your knowledge management career?
Um, I'm proud of taking it on, tackling it, figuring it out from scratch, and like I said, teaching myself a very complicated industry that I'm in, and that was new to me, and just being able to have it actually be successful and work. 'Cause we're progressing, we're making things work for us. It's helping, it's moving along, it's helping us with our end goal of raising revenue. Because the better content we have, the more revenue we'll generate. Because the customers will see us as very, credible, and because the better content you have, the more credible you are. So I think I'm just proud of being able to do it in a year's time.
And I'd imagine that, for many people, when they think of what you did, they may jump into it, but they may have that feeling of imposter syndrome where they're like, was I supposed to be here? Now that I'm here, what does this mean? Is that something that you dealt with, or how would you give advice to people who may be wanting to learn something new like you did and
Yeah.
maybe not feeling ready to do it, even though they should?
I'm definitely have times when not currently, but I did definitely have times in the past year where I was like, whoa, am I supposed to be here? Just because, every day people have their own challenges and struggles, and then you just get frustrated, everybody has that. And I think I did too. The advice that people gave me in my past, because like I said, I've worked within or in 30 different industries. Not that I've had 30 different jobs, but I've had, 30 industries that I've worked with, like with customers and things like that. Um, Someone told me once, fake it till you make it. So I think that's my favorite motto with that. Just don't get worried, don't get concerned, just fake it till you make it.
Yeah, I
That's
think, if you believe it enough, it often comes true. And, yeah.
yeah.
And then, I know we covered a lot here today. Do you have any other advice that you would want to offer for people who are looking to jump into knowledge management and succeed in the role?
I would say go maybe to LinkedIn and seek out people that have that title, and maybe cross industries, and see if they're willing to have a short conversation with you. Many people, most people are, I think, just to talk about what they do, what their perspective, what their actual aspect of knowledge management is currently, and what industry they work in, and see what the differences are. Because there might be one area that you prefer to be in over another. Like maybe you don't like the area that I'm in, but maybe you want to do it more from a marketing side, or digital asset management side. That's just what I think. LinkedIn's a very good tool. I failed to mention that one earlier, for networking. And I just think generally, at least for me, if people reach out and ask me to have a quick call, I'm happy to do it, to describe what I do. And I just think that might help people decide whether it's right for them, or decide which aspects of it that they want to get involved in. I think that's helpful.
Well, Patty, thank you so much for taking your time to be here with us today. And if people want to connect with you on LinkedIn, can they go ahead and do that?
Sure, as long as they send me a little note with the connection, saying where they're reaching out to, or why they're reaching out to me, or where they're from. Because sometimes I get random people on there, and I'm like, oh, click delete. As long as they send a note saying, hi, I saw you on this video, I'd like to ask you some questions. I mean, that's fine.
So make sure to provide context.
Yeah,
Context is important, especially if you're working in knowledge management. You got to get used to
yeah,
doing that.
exactly. Because otherwise I will delete it.
And again, thank you so much for being here with us today. We'll rock and roll from here. And yeah,
Okay, you're welcome.
cheers.
Take care. Good luck. Thanks. Bye-bye.